Here are the organizing myths that promise a perfect life, but actually leave your home more cluttered than when you started. For years, social media has sold us a version of home organization that looks beautiful in a photo, but falls apart the second actual humans try to live in it. We are told that matching plastic bins, rainbow-ordered bookshelves, and decanted spices are the secret to happiness. They aren't. Professional organizers in 2026 are finally admitting that many of these expensive habits are actually ruining your home design and draining your bank account. If you feel like you are constantly cleaning but never organized, it is usually because you are following rules that were never designed for real life. The biggest mistake happens before you even start cleaning. You walk into a store, see a wall of pristine acrylic bins, and convince yourself that buying them will solve your mess. It won't. Designers call this the container trap. When you buy storage solutions before you declutter, you are not organizing, you are just finding expensive ways to hoard trash. The physical act of buying a bin gives you a dopamine hit that feels like productivity, but it skips the hard work of decision-making. You end up stuffing unnecessary items into beautiful boxes just to fill them. Real organization is about subtraction rather than addition. Until you have removed every single item you don't need, bringing a new bin into your house is just adding to the clutter. Pouring your cereal, pasta, and baking supplies into matching clear containers is a pervasive lie. Although it looks satisfying on camera, it is a practical disaster for 90% of households. First, you lose the expiration dates and cooking instructions, forcing you to cut them out and tape them to the jar, which ruins the look anyway. Second, you create a backstock problem. If your family eats half a box of cereal, the new box won't fit in the jar. Now you have a half-full jar on the counter and a half-full box hidden in the pantry. You have effectively doubled the space required to store one item. Unless you have a severe pest issue, keeping food in its original packaging is almost always more space efficient. If you do decide to use containers, the shape you choose matters more than you think. A massive trend in 2026 is the rejection of round canisters because simple geometry proves they are inefficient. Round containers waste space. When you place round jars side by side on a shelf, you create useless triangular gaps between them. In a standard pantry, switching from round to square containers instantly recovers about 25% of your shelf space. That is a quarter of your kitchen gained back just by changing shapes. Round jars might look softer or more organic, but in a small home, they are a luxury you cannot afford. Square or rectangular bins sit flush against each other and maximize every millimeter of real estate you have. For the last decade, tearing down upper cabinets to install floating wood shelves was the ultimate kitchen flex. It signaled that you were breezy, casual, and minimalist. However, living with open shelving creates a greasy, dusty burden. In a kitchen, airborne grease from cooking mixes with dust to form a sticky film on everything exposed. That means every bowl, plate, and glass on those shelves needs to be washed before you use it, even if you just washed it 3 days ago. By late 2025, designers began moving aggressively back to closed cabinetry. We are seeing a return to larder cupboards and appliance garages because people realized that hiding the mess is actually the point of storage. Open shelves demand perfection, while cabinets allow you to have a life
There is a difference between being organized.
and being obsessive. Micro-categorizing is when you separate your batteries not just by size, but by brand, or sort your kids' Legos by color. This level of detail looks incredible for the reveal photo, but it is impossible to maintain without a full-time staff. The moment you introduce a system that requires 5 steps to put a single item away, you have guaranteed failure. If putting a pen away requires uncapping a specific subcontainer, your family will just leave the pen on the counter. The goal of organization is retrieval rather than storage. If the system is too complex to maintain during your busiest week, it is a failed system. Broad categories like writing tools work, while separate bins for blue gel pens do not. If you are tired of feeling bad about your home because of impossible standards, subscribe to the channel. We break down the reality of design here every single week. Now, we can look at a rule that actually causes more clutter. You have likely heard the rule that for every new item you buy, you must get rid of an old one. This advice is sound for maintenance, but it is useless for decluttering. If your home is already overwhelmed, maintaining the status quo just keeps you drowning at the same water level. This rule assumes you are starting from a neutral baseline, which almost no one is. To actually make a dent in a cluttered home, you need a 1-in, 10-out mentality for at least 6 months. Relying on 1-in, 1-out is a passive strategy that allows you to feel responsible while your inventory remains exactly the same. It is maintenance mode for a house that needs surgery. We keep the empty iPhone boxes, the cords for electronics we haven't owned in 5 years, and the extra buttons from shirts we threw away in 2019. This is just-in-case storage, which is simply fear masquerading as prudence. We are afraid that the moment we toss that random cable, we will need it. But consider the worst-case scenario. If you need a standard USB cable in 2 years, you can buy one for $5. The cost of storing that junk in your prime living space for a decade is far higher than the replacement cost. You are paying rent or mortgage on every square foot of your home. Dedicating 10 square feet to garbage you might use someday is a very expensive storage unit. Label makers are fun, but labeling every single item in your home creates visual noise that makes a room feel chaotic, even when it is tidy. Your brain processes written text automatically, so you cannot help but read it. When you walk into a pantry and see 50 labels screaming flour, sugar, and snacks, your mind has to process all that data. It is exhausting. In 2026, the design trend is moving toward intuitive systems, where you don't need a label to know that the laundry basket is for laundry. Clear bins often make labels redundant anyway. If you can see the apples, you don't need a sticker that says apples in a script font. Save the labels for opaque bins in the garage rather than your daily living space. Stacking bins looks great in a warehouse, but in a home, it creates a barrier to access. If you need the sweater in the bottom bin, you have to physically move 3 other heavy bins to get to it. Human nature follows the path of least resistance. If getting an item requires heavy lifting, you will either stop using that item or you will pull it out and never put it back, because the effort to restack the bins is too high. This is why drawers will always be superior to bins. Drawers allow you to access the bottom layer without disturbing the top layer. If you must use bins, Use them on shelves instead of on top of each other. Vertical stacking is for long-term storage, not daily life. For years, minimalism taught us that a clear surface was the only virtuous surface. We were told to hide the toaster, the coffee maker, and the soap dispenser. However, the warm modern heritage trend of 2026 has taken over, validating the idea that a home should look lived in. Trying to keep your counters completely bare is a losing battle that makes your home feel like a hotel lobby. It is okay to have your daily tools visible. The key is curation rather than elimination. A beautiful ceramic crock with wooden spoons is functional decor, while a pile of dirty plastic utensils is clutter. Don't fight against the function of your room. If you make coffee every morning, leave the machine out. Hiding daily tools isn't organizing, it is hiding the evidence that you actually live there. We treat organizing like a renovation project, where we blast through the whole house in a weekend and expect it to stay that way forever. When the mess returns 2 weeks later, we feel like failures. But organization is not a project. It is a habit, closer to brushing your teeth than to painting a wall. You don't brush your teeth once in January and expect them to stay clean all year. Your home is a living organism that intakes new items daily. The mail comes in, groceries arrive, and kids bring home art. If you don't have a daily digestive system for this influx, the clutter will return. Stop looking for a permanent fix and start building 10-minute daily reset rituals. The rainbow bookshelf is the ultimate example of prioritizing aesthetics over utility. Arranging books by color looks stunning on social media, but it renders your library completely useless. Unless you have a photographic memory and can remember the spine color of every novel you own, you will never find anything. Books are meant to be read, referenced, and found. Sorting them by author, genre, or subject respects the object's purpose. Sorting them by color reduces meaningful literature to mere decoration. It treats a book as a rectangular block of pigment rather than a vessel of knowledge. If you care about reading, group your books by topic. If you only care about how the shelf looks in a video background, go ahead and use the rainbow. Productivity gurus love the rule that says, as soon as you pick something up, you should deal with it fully and put it away immediately. In theory, this prevents piles. In reality, it causes paralysis. Sometimes you walk in the door with hands full of groceries, a crying toddler, and the mail. You cannot process the mail right then. Demanding that you touch it once means you just throw it on the floor because you don't have the mental bandwidth to file it. A better system is the touch it twice permission. Have a designated landing zone, like a basket or tray, where things can land temporarily. Then, have a scheduled time to clear that tray. It acknowledges that life is messy and gives you a beef zone. We are often told to rotate our wardrobes, decor, and even bedding every season to save space. While swapping out heavy winter coats makes sense, the trend of rotating everything from throw pillows to coffee mugs has gone too far. It turns your home into a logistics center. You spend 4 weekends a year packing and unpacking boxes, washing items that smelled musty in storage, and realizing you forgot where you put the summer duvet. The 2026 approach is the Capsule Home. Own fewer, higher quality items that work year-round. A linen throw works in summer and winter. A neutral mug works for Christmas cocoa and July coffee. Stop managing inventory for a store that doesn't exist and start owning things you can use 365 days a year. Perhaps the most damaging myth is that there is only one way to be organized. We see a hyper-tidy person and think we need to be like that. However, brains are wired differently. There are visual organizers who need to see things to remember they exist, and hidden organizers who crave clear surfaces. If a visual organizer tries to hide everything in opaque bins, they will accidentally buy 3 more bottles of ketchup because they can't see the first 2. If a hidden organizer uses open shelving, they will feel anxious from the visual clutter. Stop trying to copy a system that fights your neurology. If you need to see your stuff, use clear bins or open baskets. If you need calm, use drawers. Your home should serve your brain rather than the other way around. The massive 4-drawer file cabinet is a relic that is ruining your home office design. Most of us are keeping paper records for fears that are no longer relevant. Utility bills, bank statements, and manuals are all online. You do not need a physical archive of your water usage from 2018. The only papers you truly need to keep are vital documents like birth certificates, titles, and tax returns for a specific window. Everything else is recycling. Replacing a bulky metal cabinet with a slim, fireproof lockbox or a single, handsome document box recovers huge amounts of floor space. Paper clutter is heavy, dusty, and largely obsolete. Go digital, shred the rest, and reclaim your room. We must dismantle the myth that there is a finish line. You will never reach a state of perfectly organized where you never have to lift a finger again. That state only exists in showrooms, where no one lives. A real home is a factory of life, where cooking, playing, working, and sleeping create mess. The goal is not a static and perfect image, but rather a home that is easy to reset. A good system isn't one that never gets messy. It's one that can be tidied up in 15 minutes. When you let go of the idea of finishing and embrace the cycle of living and resetting, the pressure disappears. Your home is for you instead of an audience. We are entering a new era of home design where function finally beats perfection. The era of the sterile, plastic-filled, color-coded home is ending, and a warmer and more realistic approach is taking its place. It is time to build systems that support your actual habits rather than your fantasy self. Stop buying bins and start building rituals. If you found these reality checks helpful and want to build a home that actually works for you, subscribe to the channel for more honest design breakdowns. I'll see you in the next one.